welcome to this ECIST podcast on setting up a perfect week. My name is Mark Ellis and I'm an improvement manager with ECIST. It's my great pleasure today to meet and to greet the wonderful Rachel Williams from South Warwickshire Healthcare Trust, and Rachel is going to take us through her recent experiences in setting up and running a perfect week at a very difficult time. So very welcome, Rachel. Thank you for giving up your time. Be really interested. So we've got lots of experience in setting up perfect weeks, but you've kind of set up a perfect week during a health emergency. So it'd be great to get your perspective on how that felt.
Yeah, so we decided that we needed to set the perfect week up or do something differently, because not only was COVID and that hitting the front door, but also an increase in attendances of the normal type of A&E picture patients that we were seeing. So we were starting to get a few bottlenecks. What else could we do? We needed to do something different. We know that corridor medicine isn't what we want to do, and that's even harder now with COVID and making sure that we've got the different pathways. So what we decided to do was pull our senior clinical leaders together to say, what can we do? Let's phrase it as a perfect week. I will be honest, what we did think about is, should we call it something different? So we did put it as the perfect week to facilitate flow and discharge, because what we felt was we didn't want people to get a negative connotation on the perfect week and people come back and say, how can it be perfect? We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is COVID. What else can we do?
That's because you had a very compelling narrative in terms of the COVID response. In terms of the commitment, I'm guessing that you didn't really struggle for commitment and people to engage with you on that.
So yeah, so it was great, the amount of clinical engagement we got. So we've got all the associate medical directors for the trust and the clinical directors on the call, and basically said to them, what is frustrating you the most at the moment to do with discharges, and how can we help you? And let's do something. And we set it up in 3 days, had very intense hour meetings each day, and then went live on the Monday. So it was really heartfelt. What are you finding that's so frustrating? What else can we get? I suppose we're very lucky that we're an integrated trust with community as well, which is very helpful for us. So we've got community, we've got our acute trust, we've got mental health as well, partnership, to be able to help us to say, come together, give us the top 5 things that frustrate you the most, and let's see what we can do. And that's where we started to develop our plan. So we went for, Pete Gordon will be very proud, we went for the simple things, and that's how we kept the theme going. And we went, let's not go for the big complex issues, let's go for something really, really simple. I think everywhere nationally we've been struggling, haven't we, with people going off sickness, with shielding. The clinical teams are going on ward rounds, and the one thing that our clinicians said to us is, we get so tied up in the mechanics of things, and actually we need to make the quick, fast, senior decisions, concentrate on the sick patients. So could we have a team of spare medics that could perhaps write TTOs? And also what we looked at was, once our phlebotomy rounds have been round once, and often before the ward round, there's bloods then decided on the ward round, which then delays discharge, because it's one of the less things, because we're looking after the sick patients, that we could do. So 2 of the most simple things that was requested by the whole of the senior team was, could we have people to write TTOs? And also, could we have what we called is the parachute phlebotomy team? So they were located in our site office, for us for the wards to be able to come and say, actually, our ward rounds happened, we need some bloods being taken, can you come out and take these bloods for us? So we had a CSW who normally works in outpatients, and because of virtual outpatients, actually they're not so busy, so we use resources in a different way. Got her parachuting out onto the wards, taking the bloods, and then she actually took them to the lab as well. I think the other really key thing, Mark, there was, out in the community, we've got community staff looking at patients taking bloods. We've got our 4x4 scheme as well of volunteers to collect the bloods from the patient's house the minute they were done, brought back into the lab here to get them processed, to get that senior decision done quicker, instead of the community teams waiting for 4 or 5 sets of bloods to then bring in. So those are some of the really simple things that we did.
Yeah, they sound fantastic, Rachel. I mean, that sense of urgency that you were in often can generate kind of, really pragmatic improvement solutions like that. Now, given that we were in a health emergency and there's already a command and control kind of structure that we would see normally in a perfect week, how did you piggyback the existing structure, or did you set up your own?
So we use the command structure. So we use bronze in the morning, which was at 8 o'clock, which dovetails into our bed meeting. So we knew what our capacity was. All the key players were on that, and actually we used Microsoft Teams as well. So our day started at 6 o'clock in the morning, where our night team went round and asked for potentials and definite discharges. Within the private team that we set up on Teams, we then put patients' names in there of our potential and our definite discharges. The minute pharmacy came in and hit the deck, they started working on those TTOs for us and updated them. So all we had to do was look into that folder, look into that file. They'd been screened, they'd been dispensed. We were very lucky at the time. We had the army working with us. The minute they were dispensed, they went and collected the TTOs, took them to the ward. We had another member of admin staff then saying, has transport been booked? Yes, no, the patients then went home. So I think one of the key things is one of our later into the week, not Monday, but Wednesday, Thursday, we were seeing patients ready to go out by 8:15 in the morning. Wow. To be able to go out. And what we did was track that as well through the week.
That's brilliant. And that kind of leads me on to my next question, really, in terms of measurement. And what kind of metrics did you use to monitor your improvements?
So what we did, we looked at number of discharges. I think the one thing that was nice was we doubled our discharges, but also, and that's the bit that we're looking at now, is we maintain that over the weekend. So historically, isn't it, weekend discharges are quite low, aren't as good. We were still seeing 50 discharges on a Saturday and a Sunday. Wow. During the perfect week, and we stopped the parachute phlebotomy. We didn't do anything different with TTO writing, but what we think is it was that constant communication in the week. Not only was it the communication in the week, but it was that planning. So we had more criteria-led discharge. The teams were more engaged. They actually gave us dates for discharge, and we tracked and chased that a lot more. So we did number of discharges. We did discharges in the day. There was a higher proportion earlier in the day, but we still maintained those late discharges as well. We looked at our stranded numbers of 7 and 21 day, which absolutely plummeted right down due to the number of discharges we got. So those were some of the key performance indicators we looked at.
Excellent. And just in summary then, because you've made some really significant improvements there in terms of the data, what are your next steps going forward and capturing some of the learning of the last few months? How do you see the future?
So we basically mopped up and said, what did we find worked really, really well? So what we found worked well was the TTO doctor and was the parachute phlebotomist, which we've carried on. We've carried on the 6 o'clock in the morning by putting the names of potential and definite discharges for pharmacy to carry on working on. What we want to do and what we're now planning on doing is the week and the weekend, and then the week leading into Easter, is to run a perfect weekend and to also run it dovetailed by 2 weeks. What we have done already to lead on from the perfect week is we've started to shadow. So one of our GMs came in and shadowed what the doctors did at a weekend, and we use a CTMS tool at the weekend to allocate jobs. So what we found is we're actually not using that right, and we could do a lot more about that. So we've engaged again one of our associate medical directors who's previously undertaken an audit, got the site team and the clinical practitioners together to look at how we then allocate the roles. We don't think the resource is a problem, but we just need to work differently, and then to roll that out working differently.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. I mean, we were never going to get the whole journey in 10 minutes, but as ever, you've been so informative and inspirational. Thank you very much. And we wish you and your team well, and we look forward to catching up soon. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Mark.